add our finishing details to this piece. So if you have some of my brush kits, you might notice that I used various hearts and details from that. So I'll show you real quick and then we'll just hand draw them in. A lot of these just make my workflow faster. So my creativity kit has all these textured dots and hearts and plus signs. So a lot of these are that because they add great texture. Can you see the texture in that? And these, they've got texture built in. So I use those when I did mine. As well as from my folk art kit. You've got all these, but you also have a ton of different hearts. So I had used stamps because it just makes my workflow faster. I have them, I use them a lot. So that is available to you if you would like. If not, we will just draw them in by hand here. So just take a small monoline brush. We're gonna do 2 sets of finishing details. So let's start with our background element. So add a new layer and let's tap and rename it background details. All right, and we're gonna use various colors. We can ultimately change those to kind of create a sense of balance in our piece. So why don't we start with just grab a really dark, either navy or black or something like that, and we'll draw the elements in all one color, and then we'll color them in to add balance to our piece. So I'm just gonna draw some little circles. So if I tap my finger down, perfect circle, color it in. And the other thing about using the stamps is it's just faster, but you could also take a monoline brush that's bigger and kind of make it that size. And then it's faster to just kind of tap those dots in. So I'm just gonna, and you've got my template, so you can kind of put them where I did. And when I do stuff like this, I'm just always thinking about what is gonna add balance to a piece. So if I have extra space here and here, I ended up shifting those letters over and adding 2 hearts. And then things always work best in odd numbers. So you can see over the whole piece, I have 3 hearts to create that sense of balance and do what's most visually appealing to the eye. I'll add a heart, a little kind of cross plus sign here, a little spark or star, whatever you want to call it there, another one here. And you can see that like that shape just fills this space really nicely. So again, it's about kind of trusting your visual instinct and figuring out what goes best where. I kind of feel like it's always like putting together a puzzle and just getting the right piece in a certain spot. And sometimes I'll use the same element, but make it maybe bigger. I'm gonna erase this one and use that's taking too long. Whoop. I'm gonna let it form a perfect line so that I don't have wonky ends on that one. And then one more big heart here. Whoops. And then those little plus signs. So another easy way to do those is to grab a bigger monoline brush and make one like that, and then just erase out the sides to square them off. Now this one doesn't have texture like it would have if I had used the stamp. So let me show you that just for comparison's sake. So if I go to my creativity kit, and then I can just, I'm actually gonna delete this out, but you can draw it that way if you want to. If you don't have the creativity kit, then I'm just gonna stamp 3 stamps down, and then I can circle them. Whoop, moved my whole canvas here, and manually adjust them. Sometimes I don't want them to look so much like plus signs as like little X's. So just shift them around, and I'm gonna delete out my template now, or at least turn it off so it's not distracting me. And if you feel like those are too light compared to everything else, when I originally did this, I also did the textured dots from that same kit. One thing you can do is just select those 3 stamps, click down and click cut and paste. Now they're on their own layer, and I can duplicate them, and you can see how it gets a little more opaque. So now I'll merge that down and merge that down so all my background details are on the same page. Now we want to color them in. So I'm just going to tap my layer and select Alpha Lock. And that means I can only color on the elements that are drawn and I can't color on the background. So I'm going to start with my light pink color and I'm going to color my heart first. And then maybe I'll do, whoops, make sure I'm on a brush that's good for coloring. Make it bigger, there, and maybe here. So I'm kind of spreading it out. And then for dark pink, I will do here, and I'll do the plus sign. And I think that's it for now. Now I'm gonna do the light teal, and maybe I'll do, whoops, a little down here and one here. And then I'll do the, actually, let's do blue. I'll do a blue, no, maybe I did, let's see, light teal there. And then the blue color I'll do here. I will do here. So just kind of play with it until you get to a point where you're happy with how your colors are spaced out. And you know, try not to get two colors too next to each other if you can. Let's see. Do one here. And you can always change the color. Like if you get to the end, I think we had a lighter yellow we didn't use a lot. All right, I'm gonna use that light yellow here and also here. And then I come back to my blue for here. Light yellow again here because I need a third one of that. And then maybe the dark teal here. So now I've got all of those elements colored on their own layer and they're helping our piece be more balanced. Now, just to add a little more visual interest, let's make some details on our letters. So add a new layer and let's call this one letter details. And I'm just gonna grab white for this. So I'm just gonna come to classic actually and drag it right to white. And let's start with our letter B and we're just gonna make 5 dots on it. So I'm gonna adjust my monoline brush so that it works nicely. So I'll start with those 3 and then put one in the middle of each. And then at a much smaller size, I'm gonna add just a little inline detail to my letter D. About like, whoop, like that, with a straight line. And I'm gonna go pretty quickly here, but you can always sit and take a little more time on this part if you want to. I'm gonna do the same thing in my heart, add kind of an inline heart there with a thin line. And then I'm gonna do some dots again on my H, just there and there. I'll do a line again on my, want it to be smaller. Letter I. Letter K, I'm gonna do a dashed line, but I'll start by just drawing, I'm gonna go a little thinner again, a straight line. And then with my eraser tool, I'm gonna erase out a few spots so it looks more like a dashed line. And let's see, let's do some lines on the M. Go back to that tool. So I'm gonna start kind of in the middle here and end in the middle there so that I can add some lines on the serifs as well. And then I'll go up all the way to that and over, whoops. And you could always do one layer of this and then use it as your template like we did with the letters and do a final layer too to kind of sketch it out and plan it and then do a more final version. I'm kind of following what I did the first time I made this piece. So this part usually takes me longer than it is while I'm just showing you. I spend some time thinking about what letters could use a little extra pop, who needs some balance. So I added 2 dots to our fun little O. This Q works really well for adding in more of those kind of spark shapes like that. It kind of highlights the spurs we drew. So I'll do that there. The letter S, I'll go back to doing some dots. I'll do kind of a bigger one and then 2 small ones next to it. And then I'm gonna go back to our dashed line for the U and kind of draw that in. Might take a few times because the U is a little funkier shape than it looks. And then I'm gonna use a bigger eraser this time so my dashes are more pronounced. Dash that again, and then I think we'll add an inline to this heart as well to balance the one from the other corner. I'll do one more set of dashed lines here on the W. So again, I'm kind of thinking about balance and spacing things out and making sure elements are repeated, but not too frequently. And finally, we'll do a few dots on our Z. Just one, let me make it a little bigger. 1, 2, 3. So I think that's pretty good. We've got everything, you know, like I would probably fix this D a little, so maybe the line is a little more centered, but overall I'm happy with that. And now I could export my piece and I could print it. To export it, just click your wrench icon and click share, and then you can send it to yourself as any of these formats. When I was working on my book, for example, I always exported in a Procreate format, which keeps my layers. If I just wanted to be able to print this, I would send it to myself as either a PDF or a JPEG, and then just be able to print it. So you can see I've got my numbers notated on here. So I've been referencing this as we work through the whole series. And again, I will put my version on the blog for you so you can download it and work off of it if you need to. So you can grab that. I'll put a link in the comments to the video, but again, you can also find it on the blog. And that is it for our whole series. Thank you again for following along with me for these last 26 weeks. And I know you've seen it to death, but go buy my book. Thank you.